What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to a special live show. Myself and Adam felt like we needed to come on. We needed to have our say, let you guys have your say, and most of all, try and figure out what the hell is going on in the Premier League. Adam, I know you were on earlier on, mate, and fair play on that one. How are you feeling? Before I ask the audience, mate, how are you feeling about this points deduction?
Honestly, exhausted from trying to dissect it earlier on today, Craig. It was a it, it was a weird stream because everyone in the chat was in the same boat. It was like, how on earth has this happened so quickly to Everton, or what seems like it's happened quickly? And we were only talking a couple of days ago about how Chelsea have dragged out their financial fair play shenanigans, and how City, obviously the main one with their 115 charges, how they have still not been brought to justice on them charges by the Premier League. And yeah, honestly, I feel like the Premier League right now, if we had everything together that we've been covering this week on the channel, VAR, the referees, how much the referees are protected. We can't say anything against them, to financial fair play regulations, and now the Premier League sustainability and profit margins. The Premier League is just carnage at the moment, Craig. That's how it feels to me.
It does feel a little bit scattergun, the approach
Yeah.
from the Premier League to this. So, look, I've been following this on Sky, mate, like most people, and all the numbers that I'm seeing of this £125 million, 20 million over that 105 million loss that was allowed to clubs throughout the 3 years over the COVID period. So, from what Sky are pitching, mate, it looked like there was just that 19 or 20 million, but I believe you think that that number actually, when you dig down into it, is far bigger than the numbers reported
Yeah.
by Sky in that 3 year period.
Yeah, I mean, if Everton think that they're hard done to in terms of just scraping over the mark and communication between them and the Premier League, 20 million seems like a number that you could have got around. Something could have been sorted there. So why has this happened? So when you look into it more, I did a video when this was first announced that Everton could be sanctioned by the Premier League. I think it was about a month ago now on this channel. You can go and check it out. We were talking about them being over the threshold by more than three. So basically over 300 million. But when you look into it, it's Everton's previous 2 years plus this 3 year period that they're talking about now. The 3 year period, yes, Everton have started to get themselves in order. They've not gone as crazy in the transfer market. Obviously, Mashiri went off with a bang. They were talking about the interest on the money borrowed for the new stadium that they're building. Now, that should have been taken into consideration and not charged against them. It's still running against the club, but the numbers actually read over the last 5 years, Everton have run at a £430 million loss. That's the real figure. So you can sort of try and look past this next 3 years and go, right, we're okay. But what about that 430 million, which is still there right now? And with no light shed on the new ownership model coming in at Goodison, at Everton, I'd be more worried if I was an Everton fan looking at the last 5 years rather than what's just been given to them now. Because when I broke it down earlier on, Craig, I thought, right now, this actual sanction and these 10 points coming now at this stage of this season, they've got away with it a little bit because we know, they've dropped into the relegation zone. One win takes them back out of it, and I think Everton will be safe. If this happened last season, Everton would have been relegated. And that's the can of worms and the Pandora's box which has been opened with this. Honestly, if I'm an Everton fan right now, I'm going to Everton and probably protesting at Goodison Park, which I fully expect to happen next weekend, at the way that the club and the state of the club, because the club are trying to come out and act like this is harsh. And the reality is they've got some front when they know that the previous 2 seasons added to these 3 years that have been discussed now takes them nearer to $500 million. That is what I would be miffed off with being an Everton fan, Craig. That is the reality right now. How are they going to clear that?
That is a very significant amount of money. But there's a couple of things pop into my mind when I think about this situation now with Everton. So, one, I kind of do feel like the Premier League are kicking a puppy a little bit here because it feels like this was the easiest one for them to do, and they've almost
Yeah.
prioritized penalizing Everton. Whereas, look, we've got to talk about Manchester City, Chelsea, and those investigations and what that could mean. Because Leicester City right now are sitting in the Championship, Adam, and they're thinking to themselves, if this points deduction had have gone last season, we wouldn't be in the Championship right now. We would still be in the Premier League, getting that Premier League revenue, Premier League TV money, probably not having lost some of our players. So they're going to be rightly asking questions. Now, you've heard me all week say the same thing. Who's looking out for football? Who's looking out for the best interests of the sport? Because is punishing Everton and making an example of them really the precedent that the Premier League want to set? Is that going to be the defining moment that we are making a stand for financial irregularities? It has to be Manchester City, Adam. It has to be. That has to be the big test case, because the credibility of English football, of the Premier League, and of profit and sustainability, I think, is on the line with the Manchester City case.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. It's like a pack of lions when they're hunting the prey. They don't go for the big gun, do they? They don't go for the mum or the dad. They go for the baby. They go for the smaller fry. That's like what the Premier League are doing right now. And I've been banging the drum all week for the unfairness and equality within the league, basically. It's like Manchester City clearly have breached financial fair play within the Premier League. Why are the Premier League not going after them? Why can't they go after them? And I've said it all week, Craig, and my outlook on this was, and you've talked about this yourself, even with VAR, it all comes down to the broadcasters again. They need Manchester City. They need Chelsea. They need the glitz and glamour and everything that they bring. Little old Everton, and I don't mean that in any disrespect to the club, they have been in the Premier League longer than anyone. Let's not forget that, as long as anyone. They are one of the most famous clubs in English football with an actual history and famous players. And like I said, I don't mean that in any disrespect, but at the moment and the way things stand and the way football is changing, the way the Premier League is changing and being driven by money, the broadcasters right now, it's like, for instance, if UEFA dug into La Liga and how corrupt that is and how it was run, you think they kick Real Madrid and Barcelona out of the Champions League? There's not a cat and hell's chance. They need them in there to make their money. The Premier League needs Chelsea. It needs Manchester City. And like you said, it's about the broadcasters. They're making money off VAR. They're making money out of this. The Sky are actually earning money out of this story right now. This is what it is and what it's all about. It's money driven, and they have to be seen. And it's all about what's being seen and what's done. It's like no one's talking about what I did then about how bad Everton really are. It's just about how hard done to Everton have been in this scenario. Really, they need the book throwing at them and more than 10 points. But City need the world throwing at them. And this is where everyone is now going to start, hopefully, focusing. And maybe they've kicked themselves in the foot here or tripped themselves up the Premier League, because now they've done this and acted this way, everyone is going to be looking at that Manchester City situation, surely.
So a couple of things pop into my mind. Before I do, just want to read the super chat out for Mark. Said, I want to thank everybody who joined Adam on the lunch stream when Everton's punishment was announced, and all the mods for their work. Much appreciated, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
So here's what I think. In these situations where you've got financial irregularities, and look, Adam, we all know how complicated the financial side of football is now. We've seen businesses with offshore companies. We've seen other businesses funneling money through sponsorship. It is very murky and complicated. So what I don't like about this is there's a situation here with Everton who have been upfront, who have declared that they, yes, have mismanaged money, that they have overspent, and they have contributed to what looks like a fairly straightforward investigation by opening up everything. I think that should come with some good grace. I think that should come with some leniency, juxtaposed to what's going on with Manchester City, where at every opportunity there's another lawsuit, there's another legal challenge, there's another delay, there's another smoke and mirrors. I think Everton, yes, I'm not arguing over them breaking the money and breaking the rules, but they have worked with the Premier League. They have opened up their books and said, here, have a look. And it feels like if that's the punishment you get, if 10 points is the punishment you get for doing the right thing in this situation, i.e. making a transparent investigation for the Premier League, what the hell could they do to a club like Manchester City if they are found guilty of multiple financial irregularities? Because if 10 points is the bar for one, I mean, I dare not even guess. And as you said, are they going to have the bottle to do that? Can they throw out the treble champions, the reigning European champions, the glitzy, glamour, nouveau riche Manchester City? Will they have the bottle to do that? Probably not, is my gut feeling.
Well, this is it. This is like the big test for the Premier League now. Have you got the cojones? Have you got the Troy Deeneys to actually go in and move City? Because if we're going off the precedent that they've set now in terms of Everton breaking this one financial fair play rule, then Manchester City will get the Rangers treatment and be sent down the pyramid completely. That's how far they will go. And I just don't see it doing it. I mean, the Premier League is driven by money. You echoed pretty much what Jamie Carragher said on Sky before. Everton have been open. There should have been a bit of there should have been a bit of communication. If the last 3 years and what they're judging, and I know they deducted and you was able to play off COVID against your accounts and everything like that, and it was difficult for every club. So the last 3 years is pretty much post-COVID. If it was just 20 million, I mean, Manchester United have just been fined. We were just over the threshold as well. So if you're over it, you're over it. It can't be one rule for one and then one for another. We were fined. Why is 20 million worth 10 points? I know it's a rule, and I don't know if they'd had a pre-warning. The Premier League haven't come out with enough detail in all of this for me, Craig, because it's like I said before, it's like the review. What happens with that? They can review it, but how come if they can review it, the points are already on the board and are being taken off the board? As such, it's like, is this suspended review? How does it work? But yeah, I just feel like it seems unfair in how they were treated. Not in terms of the treatment, they have broke the rules, fair enough, but you cannot go in on Everton and not go in on Manchester City and Chelsea if they've done it as well. Every team right now, I feel, will just be locking up the safe and just playing safe now, because the Premier League have done this. They've made a statement in the record point deduction in Premier League history with Everton. Over 20 million, Craig. That is the one that sort of sticks in the gut a little bit. And I feel like Everton fans will be looking at that and going, 20 million? Could we have not come to like some sort of like agreement there? Like, is there a way around this, considering we've opened our book? Could we have not got a fine? Could we have not got like a suspended sort of 10 points? Could we not been made an example of that way? No, bang, gone straight in, and the points are off the board straight away. That's what I found crazy in all of this, mate.
£2 million a point. Yeah, that's what we're looking at here. So 230 points on the way potentially for Manchester City. 230 point deduction. Again, look, these are casual comments from me and you, but you're setting precedents. They've got to be measured in such a way. And my confusion in this leans into UEFA a bit as well. So what we've seen, Adam, with UEFA, especially with Manchester City, PSG, and others, is they have a time statute of between 3 and 5 years that they can investigate these things over. But it takes 3 years for them to figure out that there is irregularity. So my question is, are those governing football in the greater good here, like UEFA, are they really interested in punishing these clubs? Like, what's the point in having a statute of limitations of 3 to 5 years on something if it only comes up after 4 years? And then you're saying, sorry, can't investigate, it's too late. So they've just got away with it.
Yeah.
Who's governing football? And as we mentioned, like, it's a bit of a jokey thing for me to say it's £2 million a point, but that's kind of what it is here. And as you said, United broke financial fair play by a little bit and got a fine, and nobody batted an eyelid. We all thought, fair enough, they were punished, got a little fine. This feels like, I don't know, don't want to say there's an agenda, but it definitely feels like Everton are being made an example of here by the Premier League. And that maybe that's okay, Adam. Maybe they want to send that warning shot. But again, it just feels like if you want to make an example of somebody, why not make an example of the person who's really taking the piss?
Yeah, that's it. And it all points towards, like, we know what's being discussed in government and everything right now, that independent regulator for football. Or it's too little too late. It's like, yeah, you can say all the night, City can say all the nice things now and all the right things now. And we did a video on it yesterday in terms of City are turning over a profit. They're making their own money. But how did you get there? It's like Chelsea broke all the rules in the book. Financial fair play came into play because of Chelsea. Let's be honest. They're the ones that set everything going.
I've got a number for you on that. So
go on, mate.
In Roman Abramovich's era at Chelsea, I think it was 17 years, but I'm hoping to be correct on that. They lost on average £900,000 a week on average every week that Roman Abramovich ran that football club. And that just disappeared. Roman went off bye-bye, so did that debt. How is that fair? How is that fair to any other Premier League club that Chelsea could run at a 900, almost £1 million a week loss for the entirety of Abramovich being there, and then Bowley comes in and spends £1 billion. But Everton, for spending 20 million over the odds, are punished 10 points. Adam, make it make sense, mate.
There's not, mate. There's no way of making that make sense. We can't do it. We can discuss it and we can be on the outside of everything, looking in, going, how, why now? Why this much? Why that many points? Why that figure to bring up that many points? No one knows the rules. No one knows why, because there's no clarity. There's no one from the Premier League. There's no one from UEFA who come out and tell you exactly why each point is worth this and that punishment. We're always going to be in the dark. It's like we just don't know what is going on. An independent regulator does change everything in terms of football. It really does.
Why, Adam,
it really does.
is football so afraid of transparency?
This is a question that'll never be answered, Craig, I don't think.
Look at some of the great work, and I think it was the Daily Mail did some great investigative journalism on the Manchester City case. And a lot of the time they were met with roadblocks, even secret court dates, secret meetings, secret things that everybody was barred from. This is a publicly owned league to some extent, and that there's 20 stakeholders in the Premier League. There's the FA, and there's all the fans, all the season ticket holders, all the TV companies, everybody that puts money into that league. And yet in every other aspect of business, there's full transparency. But in Premier League football, or in football in general, everything's cloak and dagger. Everything's done in secret. Everything is sorted out in very murky, unclear ways. And it just doesn't lend itself to the morals that they profess to breach, or to preach, to exist by. It's, again, I keep saying the same phrase. I've said it for years, Adam, but I feel like football fans are treated like idiots. Like people, that, like, we're the great unwashed, and we couldn't possibly understand the intricacies of this. Leave it to the big adults. Leave it to the big people at the top. Here's the thing, though, mate. I don't fucking trust them.
No, we don't trust them. John Williams with a super chat there. He said, if City did indeed break financial fair play, they will pay for the pay off anyway. Who gets in the way of a non-guilty verdict? That's my feeling. The money talks. The lawyers, again, I spoke about that earlier on, but what we're seeing here, Craig, as well is, remember when the Super League came, and we've brought that up a few times, it's that big gun. We're in the big boy gang right now. The breakaway, the so-called want-to-be breakaway. Again, it's like you cannot touch the big six. Why is it different for them? Everton, I'm sure, were part of the rest of the Premier League that voted against the Super League. And it's like they're being punished because they're not in the in crowd, Everton. They're not seen as the glitz and glamour, like I said earlier on. They're not seen as like this superpower of European football. Like the Premier League right now, people looking in from a different country, looking in at the Premier League, all they seem to know is the big teams, the big guns, the ones that are constantly in the Champions League. It's like the division has been forgotten about past the 10th position in the league. Unless you're actually part of UEFA, and this is interesting, isn't it? Well, I'm bringing UEFA back into all of this again. Unless you're actually a consistent sort of contributor to UEFA, i.e. in the competitions, then you're just forgotten about. And I think the Premier League have looked at this the same way. I cannot see how Everton get treated this way. I cannot figure it out how they get treated this way. It's like that elitism sort of tag again. It's like, unless you are one of these big brands, then you don't get touched. It's like City now are apparently the biggest and most expensive brand in world football.
Fuck off. Oh, sorry. By the way, I want to pull something up that I seen on one of your streams earlier on. Before I do, Colin, and I wasn't telling you to F off there, Adam. Sorry, mate. I meant the whole situation could feck off. Colin said, hello, you two sexy icons. Hope you're out well today. Not sure how you feel about the Everton situation, but what about the 115 cheating scums? So the point I was trying to make was, Adam, I was watching your stream yesterday, and a Manchester City fan was in the chat talking about being the second most followed club on social media. I'm sure you remember this interaction that you had.
Wound me up, yeah.
But we looked into that at the time, and there was, I think, about 61% of those social media. Connor might have the exact number of this, but a lot of them were inactive accounts or bots. So, again, they're inflating everything. They're making it look like it. Do you know what doesn't lie, Adam? What doesn't lie is the amount of people out in the streets when Manchester City win something. Look at when United won their treble. Look at when Liverpool won a Champions League or the Premier. Well, not really the Premier League at the time because it was COVID, but anything. You see throngs of people. You can't move in Manchester. You can't move in Liverpool. You can't move in Madrid or Barcelona. When City win it, well, you can still get to the shops.
Yeah, you can still get anywhere you want to.
You can't lie with that. You know,
No,
these
you can't.
inflated social media numbers, we're transparent. We can see through this. We're not idiots.
That's it, mate. It's like I say in every aspect of football, whether it be what we were talking about then, the fans, the football, what you see on the pitch, how you judge your game. People can bring in stats, people can bring in how much you've won. But the biggest test of all and the biggest confirmation you ever need is the eye test, like you just said. You know what you're seeing, you know what you're watching. And yes, how many times has Pep Guardiola come out and say, we need the 12th man? We need the fans behind us because they don't care. They're just turning up expecting this swashbuckling football all the time. And it's not even real City fans. Man, we get offered tickets at schools in Manchester constantly to fill the stadium. They're not kidding anyone. They have got the best team on the pitch, and you cannot deny that right now. But for them to try and they're trying to fabricate a history, aren't they? It's just pathetic.
I've got a story for you, an Anfield agenda story, I guess. So do you remember Aguero's goal? The Aguero!
Don't even make that noise, mate. It still goes through me now.
So Conor was in secondary school at that time, just getting, I think he might have been in 4th year. So he's about 15. Their school got 25 tickets together the week before for that game in the Manchester City Stadium. 25 tickets the week before that game. Now, tell me, Adam, if you were playing for the league title at Old Trafford on the last day of the season, what would be the likelihood of you and 24 of your mates being able to get tickets beside each other for that game?
Hey, honestly, you can't buy. All you can get at Old Trafford is a single on its own. And that's in the North Tier up with the Pigeons, mate. Honestly, you cannot get a ticket for love the money at Manchester United. If you wanted to go with your friend, you have to be a season ticket holder and both be sat next to each other constantly, year in, year out, to get there. There's, there may be seats here and there when there's a cup game that goes around or anything like that. But for a title deciding game, last game of the season, oh my God, yeah, no, it's embarrassing. I mean, you listen to local radios here, Craig, driving around, and nearly every single Champions League game, you can buy a City season ticket for Champions League games. So buy one specifically for the Champions League games and get to just the Champions League games. That was advertised. I don't know if that's the same this year. I think that was last year or something like that. You can buy a block of games together. That's what you can get at Manchester City. That's what they're offering, right? There's always tickets available, and they're talking about actually expanding the Etihad. The Etihad needs more empty seats. Really?
Well, two things about that. One, the irony of City having a free stadium never gets lost on me, ever. And secondly, I'm just going to draw your attention, Adam, to a post from one of the important media of Abu Dhabi when Manchester City won the Champions League last season. And I'm paraphrasing the post, but it was, congratulations to Sheikh Mansour and all the Abu Dhabi people. Abu Dhabi have won the Champions League, and finally Abu Dhabi can celebrate. And it just became very clear to me in that moment what this whole fucking thing was about. They don't give a shit about Manchester. They don't care about the areas of Manchester that they're doing up, mate. It is propaganda, plain and simple. And as soon as they won that big trophy, that let me see exactly what this was all about, because they couldn't hide it. They couldn't hide who was celebrating it. It wasn't for the citizens. It wasn't for the Manchester City fans. It was for Abu Dhabi. It was a PR exercise for Sheikh Mansour and the Abu Dhabi people. That's all this is. So people in my own Discord group have been talking about the cheap tickets as an example, 20 quid to go see Manchester City. And people are like, you know what? I'll watch any top level football for 20 quid. But they're thinking short term. Why are they able to do it for 20 quid? Because money doesn't matter. Why does money not matter? Because they're not in this to turn a profit. They're in this to cement the legacy of their own country, to change the vision of Abu Dhabi in this particular circumstance in the world. And if you can't see that that's dangerous, if you can't see that there's no jeopardy for them operating, because let's face it, United can't do it, Liverpool can't do it, most clubs in Europe can't do it, but yet they're able to, and we're also supposed to believe that they're generating record profits, that they've got commercial partners none of us have ever heard of that are able to afford astronomical deals. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, it's like the naming rights for the Etihad, and now what was that? Just under $500 million it was to balance the books. Yeah, okay. That's it, honestly, mate, with them, it's about the prestige of being the best. I mean, the Premier League's becoming the battle of the Gulf. We've seen the Qataris trying to come in and buy Manchester United. We've got the Saudis at Newcastle, Abu Dhabi, in obviously at Manchester City. They're all about beating each other. It's about that stature of being the best there for them. And again, the Premier League is the perfect platform for it because it's the most watched league in world football and it's broadcast everywhere. And all they will look at is, oh, look at this. We're plastered all over every billboard around the stadium. We're on the shirts. Everything is just everywhere for them. And then everyone will see who Manchester City are. And that is Abu Dhabi. That is it. That's who Manchester City are. It's like you said there, you nailed it in terms of what it means to them, Craig. But just a quick one, by the way, we're 20 people away. Oh, no, we're not. We're 4 people away from hitting 1,000 in the room. So get sharing the video, everyone. Absolutely brilliant numbers involved in the chat right now.
Super chat in from Lukey Boy Adam said, hi, Craig and Adam. Did you see the Times Sport where it said Chelsea and City could get relegated? Loving the content from you two lately. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Lukey. And look, I don't see how the Premier League, Adam, can do anything except obliterate Manchester City if they're found guilty. Because as we've said from the very start of this, mate, they've set the precedent now. 20 million, 10 points. So also, one charge, 12 or 10 points. It has to be sorted, and it has to be sorted quickly. And how can we be almost 5 years? 5 years, Adam. 5 years into this City investigation. And I know we're not really talking about Everton here, but this is all important because it all comes together. 5 years investigation. Now, in that 5 years, as I've said many times, how many trophies have they won? How many trophies have they fucked other clubs out of? How many moments have been taken away from other fans? They don't care. It's like people talk about Lance Armstrong when he cheated all that time. Yes, you can punish him. Yes, you can strip him of the titles. But you know what you can't do? You can't take away the fact that he lived like royalty for that time. You can't take away the fact that he had life experiences that other people were denied because of his cheating. Same here with Manchester City. You cannot... You can rip away the trophies, but nobody cares because nobody wants them. Nobody wants a second-handed trophy. Nobody wants to win an Olympic medal and get it in the post. You want to stand on that podium. You want to celebrate. You want to have the culmination of your life's work in that moment, not to be taken away from you because somebody else has more money than you. And that's all this is about now. It is just money, greed, and power.
Oh, it's all about money. Like we said before, about the broadcasters and everything that's involved in this Everton fiasco. But in terms of Manchester City and all of their 115, if they, I think someone said in the chat a minute ago, if the Premier League can find 2 or 3, surely out of that, then that's City done and dusted. No more trophies, no Premier League. Surely. They cannot get away with this. It's 5 years. 5 years of investigation into Manchester City. And why have UEFA not come out and told us what City paid them for?
And do you know what I don't get? In those 115, right? You mean to tell me that there isn't 1 or 2 of them that you can prove rather quickly to start the ball rolling? Do you know what I mean? Why do we have to wait for the whole 115? I'm sure there's a couple there, that you could pluck off the tree to make an example of them and kind of give an indication of what might be coming. Because, as I said, they figured out this one with Everton fairly quickly, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, it went very, very quick, didn't it? And like I said, it's like when Everton opened their books up and they cooperated with the Premier League have just taken them for a ride. They really have. They have gone completely in on them. And like you said, we need to know why it's 10 points. Why are we not knowing that? That's what we need clarity on why that's 10 points. And then I don't think they're going to tell us because the question of Manchester City will come up, Craig. It will come up and it's like, well, wow, City are done. They got like they've got about 2 or 3 seasons worth of no points, nil points. And that's automatic relegation because it accumulates what per sanction. They're never going to tell us, I think, because like I said, and going back, I know I'm like a bit of a broken record on it, but they cannot afford to not have City in the league. They can't afford for them not to be here and advertising what is the best league in the world. They've got the best manager. They've got some of the best players in the world. The likes of La Liga right now, where Real Madrid and Barcelona get everything. That's what it's turning into.
I want to pull up a comment, Adam, from this dude, Make or Break. Said, I'm making something. He just came here to get some salt. See, it is morons like you, sir, that are allowing this to happen. It is people like you that come in with their stupidity, trying to undermine people, saying, whine, 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 salt, 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 that allows this to happen. What it takes for this to stop is people speaking out. People having a backbone, people taking time out of their busy days and schedules to look into this information and try to find out what is exactly going on. You clearly don't give a damn about football. You are clearly a glory hunting Johnny come lately who doesn't give a damn about the game. You are talking to two people, and myself and Adam, who've played football since we were children, who have played at a reasonably high level, who dedicate their lives to football in one way or another, be it in content or our daily lives. So whine, 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 and salt is okay if you're talking about a refereeing decision. But when you're talking about the credibility and the future of our damn sport, then know your place and shut up, because you're not adding anything to this conversation. If you want to fight your club's case, if you want to come in and tell me how Manchester City hasn't done anything wrong or how Everton have been hard done by, we're all ears. But what we don't have time for in our very busy days are people coming in to just say salt, salt, salt. Get over it. We care. You don't. You're part of the problem. Now shut up. Sorry, Adam.
No, that's totally fine, mate. You go carry on smashing it, because like you said, it's affecting everyone in football. It's affecting the match going fan, the experience. All fans are going to now, and I made this point earlier on, Craig. It's like Everton fans are going to that game against Manchester United this weekend. They should have been going to that game off the back of a good result before the international break, going into it in a better form and fancying their chances. It's been taken away because they felt like they've been hard done to by the Premier League, and it's unfair. They're walking up to Goodison Park, talking to each other, their mates who go. They should be talking about, I wonder if he's going to play well today. I wonder who he's going to put up against this player at United. They're talking about how the hell have they got away with all that they've done, and we're walking here right now in the relegation zone after everything we've done. We've just lost a third of the season because them points have been taken away from us. Their conversation and their match day experience has changed because of corruption within the league, I would say, and how one team is being treated differently to another. That I would take that as corrupts me. That's my opinion on that.
Do you think Everton stay up if this points tally holds? I think, do you know what? I think what they've shown in recent weeks under Sean Dyche will give them a chance.
Yeah, I honestly don't. I mean, it's like I said this before. It's like Sean Dyche's work has just gone out the window. Every team talk now counts for nothing because of everything that's been taken away. I think Everton are fine. I think they've got a good enough team to survive. I think the three other teams, there's 3 or 4 teams worse than Everton, to be honest. And I think they'll survive from this. And in a way, I'd like playing devil's advocate before, saying that Everton have kind of got away with it, like this breaking the rules. 10 points. No one expected Everton to be in the top half of the table this year. No one expected them to be relegated. And they're where they should be. A couple of wins and they'll be back where they was before. It's not the point, really, but the bigger picture is what we're talking about right now. It's like you've said it all along. Who is looking out for the football fans? Who is looking out for the smaller clubs? When a big club clicks its finger and brings in a big lawyer or starts to question the actual company that is bringing them all this money and giving them the opportunity to balance the books, i.e. the Premier League, when they start to question them or go against their employers as such in a way, or just one of the major contributors to all their finances, it's like, where's the game going? When they can actually say to the Premier League, well, no, we disagree. Well, you've broken the rules that we set, but, oh no, we're not having that. We don't believe in you. We don't believe what you're saying. This is our case, and we're not going to pay any penalty at all. It's like, well, what chance has anyone else got in this league, Craig? That's how you look at it.
Speaking of rule breaking, can we take a minute to just talk about Arteta and the charges that have been thrown at him from the Premier League? So I'm going to ask you for your take, Adam, but I'm going to give you mine beforehand just so we know where we're at. So I look at this two ways. I don't like any manager who is a microphone thrown in front of their face moments after a really, really hard battle on the pitch with contentious decisions. Whether you agree or disagree with the results of those decisions, the managers view them as contentious. I don't like TV companies going, "What do you think?" and then the manager giving their opinion, and then those managers being fined. Because we see Premier League referees, we're always told nobody wants a referee to step in front of a camera to explain his decisions. Why are we asking managers and players to do the same and then punishing them for honesty? We don't want media-trained monkeys. We want people who are on giving that bit of a passion because it matters. We want to see that matter to them. We want to see our managers and our players caring as much as we do. So I've no interest in defending Arteta, but I find it very difficult when Klopp, Arteta, and other managers call out decisions that they don't feel are correct when they've been asked questions and then get punished for it, mate. It just feels counterproductive.
Honestly, mate, I said exactly the same thing that you did. In the heat of the battle, the heat of the moment, and they get asked questions when everything is raw. It's not fair, especially when the referees don't have to do anything. They're not asked any questions or have any responsibility after the game to come and speak to anyone. It's like they are everyone is talking about the referees, and they have no accountability at all. They don't have to speak to anyone because we don't hear what they're saying on the pitch. They're not mic'd up, so no one knows why they've made certain decisions. And then the managers are coming in straight away. First question is, what do you think of that decision? Well, what do you think he's going to say? I've just lost a point. I've just lost the game because of that decision. He's not going to be happy. But again, I'll go back to what I said before, mate. That is clipped up. It's on YouTube. It's wherever. It's on Sky. It's on TV. People are watching it. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Set up by the broadcasters. It's great viewing, no, isn't it? Oh, yeah, but let's just punish him. The FA can punish him. We don't care. All the Premier League is doing in cohesion with Sky is basically saying, well, it's great TV, though, isn't it? And the manager has basically been done over. His job is at risk. He's in the most high-pressure job probably in the world of sport, and he needs results, and then they're just laughing at him while still taking money. The FA are getting the fine money off him. Premier League are getting the revenue money for everyone who's watched it back. It's been clipped up. It's all going down to the broadcasters again. And as long as it makes great TV, forget about the man and his job. Yeah, I don't like Arteta. I think he's an absolute live wire. And I think he's moaning on the side of the pitch definitely deserves punishing because he's over the top. So is Pep, so is Klopp. I think I've seen Ten Hag get booked a few times this season already now as well. So you can see it spreading, Craig. The pressure is mounting because of the way that the Premier League is run, the PGMOL, the VAR situation, everything like that. It's high intensity. What do you think of that? Microphone in your face. What the hell do you think of that? I'm basically on the brink of losing my job or whatever, and I'm not saying Arteta is, but it could be an example later down the line where all the broadcasters are talking about, let's get this camera right in front of O'Neill at Bournemouth because O'Neill at Wolves because he's had 2 games in a row he's not won, and he could be in a relegation fight. Let's get a microphone into Vincent Kompany right now and see what he thinks of Burnley coming up and going straight back down. It's like, Jesus. Give the guys a break. Honestly, I mean, if you expect a manager to come out, it's like, what was it? Mourinho said it best, didn't it? If I speak, I'm in trouble. Basically, the managers are going to end up saying, no, I'm not talking to the media. Felix Ferguson did it. He did it to the BBC. I'm not talking to him anymore.
It was BBC, I think. He used to send out his assistant anyway.
Yeah, he used to send Phelan out to do all the talking and everyone else. But there's going to come a point, mate, where we don't even hear from the managers anymore. Ten Hag has cancelled the press conference this season. I can see managers coming out and saying, I'm not speaking after the game either. I mean, they're quite within their rights to say, well, look what we're getting. You want that raw reaction and our opinions, then we need some leniency coming the other way. And I think it's unfair on them. I'm not bailing anyone out for what they do on the pitch at all. I think that's wrong and how they berate and get at the officials and stuff like that and get in the faces. But for a manager to be punished for something he said and just have an opinion, then that is what I feel that is wrong, and I think that's definitely not going in the right direction for this league.
I think it sets an us and them mentality again. Referees above reproach. No need to talk. Gary Neville talking about protecting referees. That makes me laugh, by the way, because I know you're a United fan, mate, but I think you'll agree with me. You look back to those Gary Neville, Roy Keane days at Manchester United, and there wasn't much respect for referees going on at that time. And you weren't the only club, mate, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's a bit two-faced from Neville to be talking about respecting referees.
Oh, mate, honestly, I remember watching them games, and United got loads of decisions pressuring the referee. And I actually made a point in the Arteta video we did this morning on the channel where I said, look, the referees don't deserve the Mitrovic treatment that happened with Fulham and United last season. Like that that's where you draw the line. And the players, whoever does it, deserve every bit of punishment. You do not get in the face of a referee and you don't try and intimidate him. That is wrong. That's out of order. But this is an interview with no swearing, just honest opinion, talking about how the league in general is being run that Arteta was talking about, not that referee in particular. He generalized it to the pressures that are on managers and how this league has been built up to be the best, and the officiating is crap, basically, in other terms. That's how he put it across. He wasn't having a direct line. And for them to say they're bringing the game into disrepute, are the referees not bringing the game into disrepute by the subjectiveness of everything and all the decisions that they make?
Do you remember?
Honestly.
Do you remember Konstantin Hatzidakis elbowing Andy Robertson?
Yes.
Can you imagine that was reversed?
Well, this is it.
And I'm not talking about this from a Liverpool perspective, by the way. It could have been any player in that situation. If that was reversed, we would have been talking about 6-month bans, and everybody would have been saying, and rightly so. But Konstantin Hatzidakis was supported by the players, most football fans, myself included, and said, look, he did wrong, but let's not destroy the man's career over it. It's an us and them mentality that just seeps right the way through the game.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like I said, Robertson, as you said, he is that sort of like
he's a shithouse, 100%.
Yeah, he is, and he knew what he was doing there. He knew what he was doing, but it's like you said, that's not the point. The point is the protection that the referees are getting, and it's like you cannot touch them. I said it earlier on. Bruno put his hand on Oliver's shoulder to ask a question as to why we didn't get a penalty at Spurs early on this season. Oliver turned around, looked him in the face, didn't even say to him, it's because of this. And Bruno was the captain at the time. He put his hand on his shoulder. Oliver turned around, brandished the yellow card without even saying a word. Now, that to me is too much power. The captain of a football club, yes, he's gently put an arm on your shoulder to ask because you were facing the wrong way and he was walking backwards. Bruno wanted to know why and why the decision was made. And he just brandished the yellow card instantly. It's like, oh my God, I'm scared of even mentioning anything to him at all. God forsake, actually, a swear word comes out of a player's mouth these days on the pitch because they're going to get booked for that as well soon.
So
inconsistencies.
Let's try and tie all this together, I guess, to bring this stream towards a conclusion. What do we think the reaction from other Premier League clubs are going to be to this Everton points deduction? Because I think we've spoken about it from the point of view of Everton. We've spoken about it from the point of view of Manchester City and Chelsea and what might go on there. But what do the rest of the Premier League clubs think about this, Adam? Like, if you're Manchester United and you're in your boardroom, or I'm Liverpool in my boardroom, what are we thinking about this? Like, do we support Everton in this? Do we make a case to say they're being hard done by? Do we kick up a fuss and say, what about Manchester City? Again, the lack of transparency in all of this just makes us unsure.
Yeah, this is it. In terms of Manchester United and their own, let's not even go there. I mean, this is one area where we are definitely safe because our owners are tight asses and we won't dare spend too much money. But I just feel like the big teams will protect each other and then it's the rest, Craig. That's how I feel. I think it'll be the Super League mentality again. It's no surprise. Like you've seen that picture. What was it? Kroenke The Glazers all at the same table, and I think it was it Liverpool owners who were there at the time as well? I don't know if Hicks was there. All sat around the same table. It's like in their world,
In the restaurant.
They're protecting their money and
In the
their asset.
restaurant that time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the one.
it was the Glazers. John W. Henry was definitely there. Stan Kroenke and Josh, I think, were there as well. The three American Premier League owners.
So to answer your question, mate, no, the back scratching for the big six will continue forever and a day because they know they need each other to make their money and survive. At the end of the day, when it comes to the ownership model and the people who can make a difference in that you just said, then should we make a statement? Should we back Everton? Then people are not going to go against their own because they know that their model is based on them all competing with each other, and it makes great spectacle. It makes great TV again. So I don't think we'll ever see one of the big guns go against the other. It'll always be the minority, which is the bigger teams, and then you'll get 12 or 13, 14 maybe of the other clubs in the league always going against it because they're just not the glitz, are they, mate? They're not the glamour. And yeah, I think it'll be Super League mentality in all of this. We're keeping stum. We're not saying anything. It's not our problem. That's what'll happen, in my opinion.
So I'm a Liverpool fan, and the idea of Everton getting relegated is one that obviously I've enjoyed the idea of over the years. But you know what, mate? I don't want it to be this way.
No.
I don't want this to be the time they get relegated. If Everton get relegated, I want it to be because of actions on the pitch, not because of the misguided attempts of financial rescue from a board. I really do feel for Everton fans at this moment because, as I said, they flirted with relegation. They've been there or thereabouts. They've finally started look like they're trying to get things in order. They've got the Bramley Dock Stadium. They've got the potential new investment. The fans have obviously been up and down through it. And I keep coming back to this phrase. It just feels like the Premier League are kicking a puppy at this point. And I hope Everton don't go down because of this. It wouldn't feel right for me if they were to be relegated because of this when we've got everything else that's going on around finance in the Premier League.
Can I spin that question as a United fan then to you? Would you be happy if City went and got relegated because of this?
I think, I don't even think relegation is enough for Manchester City because I think what Manchester, if they're found guilty, what Manchester City have done is an affront to 19 other clubs. It's an affront to every set of fans in Europe, not just in the Premier League. It is a bait and switch. It is a house of lies that we have never seen the likes of, backed up by petrodollars, government interference. It goes way deeper. I would like to see them fined out of business if they're found guilty of these charges, because this is potentially the biggest story in my lifetime watching football. What's going on here with Manchester City? We are seeing potential financial doping on I would say an industrial scale, mate, but it boggles how hard and how far-reaching this shenanigans from City has gone.
Honestly, corruption at its finest, and this is what happens at the highest level when things can be bought. It's like I said before, Craig, with Manchester City, we're talking about the Premier League sanctions here, and we all know the UEFA have fined Manchester City. So what did you fine them for? Why did we never know? If you're guilty, why are you handing over £60 million worth of fines?
And also,
if you're not guilty,
a fine is a punitive damage is usually a way of punishing somebody, by hitting their pockets.
Yeah,
you're not going to punish City with a 60 million quid fine because Manchester City, the football club, aren't going to pay that 60 million quid fine. We all know where that money's going to come from. And that's, again, it's not really punishing them. The only thing that will punish them is destroying their reputation that they've callously worked very hard to build up with the glitz, the glamour, the Champions League. That's how they need to be punished. They need to be shamed publicly for what they've done. They need to be held to account for how they have spat in the face of everybody else who's tried, not always done it successfully, but tried to do it the right way.
Yep, that's it. And that's what's happened with Everton. It's like You be good boys. We'll look after you. No, we won't. Smack. There you go. There's that big, hefty 10 points. Just sit on that.
Cheers for the transparency, lads. Cheers for opening up the accounts. Cheers for the cooperation. Oh, and also, here's 10-point deduction for you, like we've never seen in the Premier League before, for helping. Now, in fairness to Chelsea, apparently Chelsea did spot these irregularities from the Abramovich era when Todd Bowley was taken over, and they themselves went to the Premier League to point out these things. So that's going to be another interesting one to see what type of potential punishment Chelsea get for the wrongdoings of a previous owner.
That's it. That is it. It's like I think it's like Everton. Everton could have gone down the administration route. People, businesses, and all sorts would have lost out on that. So they've done the right thing in opening their books. They've done the right thing in doing it this way. And they're not throwing anyone else under the bus with administration. You think about how many people may have lost a job or how much business was lost and other businesses invested in Everton with the administration side of things. But still, the Premier League, no. Let's just quill the argument about teams skimming the books and getting away with it and slap a 10-point fine on Everton, 10 points deduction on Everton. It's like you said, it's kicking a puppy and it is punishing someone for doing the right thing. They've accepted that their ownership model was wrong under Moshiri and they've gone about it the wrong way. They've broke the rules. They've owned up to it. They've opened the books. They've tried to communicate with the Premier League, talk about different ways of solving it. But ultimately, it just looks like the Premier League have gone along with everything and then gone, yeah, you're right. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for doing that. Smack. There you go. You're still having that. It's, like I said, now, like you said with Chelsea, how the hell does that get rectified? Because they've done the same thing, haven't they? They've told the Premier League. They've opened it up. Are they going to get a different outlook on it simply because it was done under a different ownership model? It should be one rule for one and one for another, shouldn't it?
I mean, it's again, but you know what? Subjectively, whether you agree, disagree, like Chelsea, don't like Chelsea, like Everton, don't like Everton, I think what hopefully everybody will agree on is it's not a great look for English football. It's not a great look for the Premier League. And it's not a great look for sponsors, for fans, for everybody else when, again, the belief in the system, the belief in right and wrong, the belief in transparency is constantly being undermined. As each week goes by, it becomes more and more and more grubby, more murky, and more investigative journalism from really good journalists, by the way, out there doing their thing, doing the hard yards, going to courts, trying to find all this stuff out. It erodes away trust in the sport, Adam. And this week alone, we've seen FIFA announce a big sponsorship with Aramco, the Saudi Arabian petro company. They've reached 100 million a year sponsorship agreement with FIFA, right up until I believe 2034 for that World Cup there. 100 million a year. And we're supposed to believe there's no interference. Australia just dropped out of the World Cup bidding because they knew they were wasting their time. We've seen the World Cup in Qatar, bait and switch. It's a winter tournament. It's a summer tournament. It's a winter tournament. Budweiser, you can sell beer at stadiums week before the event. Budweiser, no beer at stadiums, only non-alcoholic beer. Again, game grubby, being destroyed by money and government pressure. It's destroying the sport, Adam. It is. It's destroying it. And something's going to happen. It's either going to get to the point where a Super League happens and the top clubs break away, or English football and European football is going to have to restructure and start again, because this isn't going to stop. When you open the doors to allow national governments or regimes or royal princes to own football clubs, mate, it was never going to end well. And of course, what we got at the time for questioning it was salty, jealous, bitter, cry more. Couldn't possibly be that we could see down the line what was going to happen. No, again, just pettiness and tribalism. And that tribalism is what allows this stuff to happen.
Exactly that. One thing we can guarantee will happen now is Infantino will have a nice palace in Saudi Arabia, won't we? He'll move his allegiances from Qatar, where he lives now, and get straight over there, won't he? Like you said, that whole World Cup bidding process was farcical.
He spent a year in Qatar before that World Cup, a whole year living there.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Some of the comments that man comes out with. There is bubbles in this world. The Premier League, the big clubs, the ownership models, they've all got their own. But the biggest bubble anywhere is FIFA. And that's the top of our game. The most corrupt in this sport, in my opinion. And it's been proved. It's been proved that way. It's been proved how corrupt it was by what happened to Sepp Blatter. So we're not talking just in opinions here and saying it's all corrupt because we're jealous or salty, like you said. We know that it is. And you only have to read the room. You know exactly what happened with that FIFA World Cup bid when Saudi Arabia got it, walked to it. And you know what? Yeah, I think we just have to look at it and go, well, we knew what was coming, and we just have to sit back and accept it because they're just lining their pockets. That's all they care about, and we can just sit along and pay these extortionate prices now to try and get over to a World Cup or even support our country. It doesn't matter to them. No one's looking out for the fans, like you've said many a times, Craig, and I don't think they ever will do. We don't count. We don't count.
My friends, that will bring us to the end of this stream. But look, from myself, from Adam, from Ben, from Connor, and everybody else associated with our brand new channel here, we want to say thank you. We've had a great first 6 weeks in existence. We want you guys to continue enjoying the content. We want you guys to let us know what you'd like to see. Do hit that subscribe button. Do drop a like on the video. But most importantly, thank you for giving us a try. Thank you for trusting in us. And we're going to continue to try bring you the best content, club-centric, non-club-centric, and everything else we can here on Top of the League. So, Adam, I'll let you say your goodbyes, mate. But from me, thank you guys so much. Much love.
Yes, guys, absolutely. Just want to reiterate everything that Craig said there. And thank you for our record number of people in the chat. We broke one record today. We broke that one again today and double some. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Just give the video a like. It helps us and makes us feel like you guys are actually happy with the content that you are watching. And I can tell just from the comments, guys, brilliant stuff as always. Love you all, and we'll have plenty more to come over the coming days. Hold on to your hats.